Welcome back, everyone. Teacher Kurt here with you again. And today, I thought we could talk about something that, we've all been experiencing recently. It's something that can have a major impact on our health, and it's also something that we all have to deal with each year. Any idea what I'm talking about yet? Well, if you said cold weather, then you're exactly right. Living in Taiwan, we all know the risks of being exposed to extreme heat. Sunburn and heat stroke are two very real dangers of living in a subtropical environment. But I don't think many people consider the risks of extreme cold, even though they probably should. It's true that sub-zero temperatures are pretty rare in Taiwan, unless you're at a really high altitude, on top of a mountain for instance. But it doesn't have to be freezing outside for the cold to pose risks to the human body. Now, you might be asking, what kind of risks? Well, there are a few. Well, let's start with the most dangerous risks of cold weather: heart attack and stroke. Now, you see, when the temperature around us drops, our blood vessels constrict, which basically means that they shrink or tighten. Now, when this happens, your heart has to work much harder to pump blood throughout your body. Now, that increased stress on the organ can cause a heart attack, which could be fatal. Also, if a person already has narrow arteries, further constriction means that the brain may not be getting the amount of oxygen it needs to function, which can cause a stroke. Now, this can also be fatal or can lead to a permanent disability. And the final serious health risk posed by the cold is generally only a problem for the elderly. It's called hypothermia, and it happens when the body's internal temperature falls too low. Now, older adults are more vulnerable to hypothermia because their bodies aren't as good at regulating their internal temperature. So, even prolonged exposure to mild cold can be deadly for the elderly. So how do we guard ourselves against the dangers of hypothermia, heart attack, and stroke? Well, the best way is to simply keep ourselves as warm as possible. Wear layered clothing and try to limit your exposure to the elements. And if you're at greater risk, you should do your best to keep your extremities warm. Now, the extremities would be your hands, your feet, and the top of your head. You see, we lose a lot of our internal heat through our extremities, so it's a good idea to wear thick socks, gloves, and a warm hat. So those are the most dangerous risks posed by cold weather, but there are other less serious risks too. I think the most common one is to our skin. You see, in the winter, when we spend a lot of time outside, the cold air and the wind can draw moisture out of our bodies. And when we're inside, heaters can have a similar drying effect. But we can combat this dry skin by drinking plenty of fluids and using a moisturizing lotion. And lastly, while this isn't directly caused by cold weather, our body's immune systems are generally weaker in the winter. Why? Well, it's simple. People spend more time indoors during the winter, which means they're exposed to more germs in confined spaces. This is why cases of colds and flus generally surge in the wintertime. Protect yourselves by washing your hands regularly, covering your mouth when you cough or sneeze, and maybe even by wearing a mask. That's all for today. I hope you learned something about protecting yourself from the cold, and if you did, please remember to click like and share. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.